This is the yin and yang. You have probably seen this symbol before in movies or in school. Looking at this emblem, you may be thinking one of two things. What has this got to do with me, and how can I use this for my benefit? This video will answer both for you.
As you can see, the yin is the dark swirl and the yang is the light swirl. Each contains a piece of the other. There is a little bit of light in the dark, and, more interestingly, there is a little bit of dark in the light. This is the definition of the yin and yang, according to Wikipedia.
Originating in ancient Chinese philosophy, yin and yang is the concept that there exist cosmic principles or forces that are opposites but complementary, which interact, interconnect, support, and perpetuate each other. Although this is what is widely accepted as the interpretation of the yin and yang, I'm going to show you the real meaning. Life is duality. Everything that exists has an equal and opposite force, pain and pleasure, masculine and feminine, love and evil. Let me give you an example.
Imagine being a man who lives a life without conflict. This is the yang of the analogy. You may think that it would be great to live a peaceful life. You wouldn't be stressed, you wouldn't have to argue, you wouldn't have to fight. But think, how can a man be a man without conflict? How can a man who has never suffered be strong? You see, this is the yang of the analogy.
Polarization is the visible clash between the two sides of yin and yang, the light and the dark, the good and the evil.
It's what happens when balance breaks, and one force dominates the other. True polarity isn't about good or bad. It's about energy pulled too far in one direction. I'm going to give you some interactive scenarios now to help you understand this concept, so pay attention now. Stop scrolling down to the comments. Stop looking at suggested videos. Watch in full screen without distractions. Get an empty notebook or a piece of paper and get a pen ready.
Have you watched the show Breaking Bad? If you haven't, I'll explain clearly now where I'm going with this analogy. Walter White starts as a high school chemistry teacher. He's intelligent but powerless, broke, unappreciated, and diagnosed with lung cancer. He believes he's failed his family. Out of fear of leaving them with nothing, he starts cooking meth to earn money. On the surface, that's love, the yin. He wants to protect and provide.
But as he gains power, something changes. His love turns into pride. His purpose becomes control, aggression, ego, dominance. At first, these forces balance. His love gives him the reason to act, and his aggression gives him the strength to do it. But over time, the dark consumes the light.
His ego replaces his care.
He's no longer providing for his family. He's building an empire to feed his pride. The lesson? Every virtue, when unchecked, becomes its opposite. Love without discipline becomes control. Compassion without restraint becomes weakness. Power without humility becomes corruption.
The yin and yang of Walter White show that you can't be only good or only bad.
Both energies exist in everyone. The light gives direction. The dark gives strength.
I'm going to ask you some questions now, so get your pen and paper ready. How often do you justify your ego by calling it good intentions? When you say you want to help people, is it really about them or about proving your own worth? If you suddenly got everything you ever wanted, money, power, respect, would you still recognize yourself?
And finally, what side of your yin and yang is winning right now? You should have finished your answers by now. If you haven't, either go back and do the questions now or leave this video.
You obviously have proved to yourself that you're just watching this video to give the illusion that you are doing something productive. However, if you are one of the few that actually answered the questions, I hope that you have gained something from it. Now look at the answers you have written. Really look at them. The beautiful thing about this YouTube video is that you have the ability to share these answers. Pause the video and type out your answers in the comments. That way other people can read and reply to your answers, giving you insights and advice into solving your problems. If you look at the comments and see that no one else has commented, take pride in the fact that you will be the first to comment. You will be the first person to actually take action into improving your life. Most people will finish this video, then go to the next video on their suggested, and then the next, and the next. They end up in this cycle of watching YouTube videos like this and never actually taking action. Now what I mean by taking action is acting upon what you have learned. What have you learned from this video?
If you can't answer that question, then you have learned that you have just mindlessly watched this video. Act upon what you have learned and rewatch the video and actually answer the questions I asked you. If you have genuinely learned from this video, then you can ask yourself the question again.
What have you learned? You have learned that you learned from this channel. So take action and subscribe. It's easy to just watch an educational video and move on, and never act upon what you have learnt. But I'm going to ask this question. What is the yin and yang of this? The yin is that you can continue to watch whatever garbage brain rot video you watch next for your eye candy and fry your dopamine receptors for the sake of your pleasure.
The yang doesn't even need to be explained. The yang is the yin.
But if you change your perspective, then you can differentiate the two. Zoom out on the situation.
If you were playing a video game, and it is about your life right now,
and you see yourself in third person from a bird's eye view, would you spend your time sitting at your desk watching random YouTube videos?
No. This is why it is so important that you understand and act upon what I am talking about here. Start off with asking the right questions. How can I use polarization for my benefit? Does that ring a bell? I told you earlier that I would answer this question, and I will now. Now, before I explain how to use polarity for your own growth, listen to this line.
If you're going to pray to God and ask for all these amazing things, you have to understand there's an equal and opposite force, and you will pay the price.
And here's a beautiful thing. Let me backtrack that one line you just said. You could pray for something, but remember, there's two people on the phone listening to your prayers.
Yeah, I like that.
And here's the craziest part. You know who's giving it to you.
Yep, you know.
George Janko is saying a very powerful quote here. You could pray for something, but there are two people on the phone listening to your prayers. That line means this: every time you ask for light, you get dark too. This works with the yin and yang idea. There is no light without dark. If you want to watch this podcast, I'll put the link to it in the description. Here's another interesting conversation from this same podcast.
You're a chess master. Every move you make, you're making it for a reason. Are you doing it to be polarizing?
There's no light without dark. And I think that it's actually kind of interesting. I don't have many haters anymore. For a while I did. About a year ago, there was a big group of the internet that disliked me. Now I actually would argue I'm one of the most liked people on the internet. And I can give you reasons for why I believe that is. But I don't think I try and be polarizing. I tried to be abrasive because I grew up in a world where I was hit very hard by life. And I think life is abrasive. And I think you learn lessons with a degree of abrasiveness. I think if things are too soft and too well explained, you don't learn them. So perhaps when I display a point, if I have to self-analyze and answer your question as a professional, when I try and get a point across, if I can do something or say something which is a bit abrasive, I feel like it teaches better. I'll give an example. If I say women aren't very good at parking, as opposed to females have no spatial awareness. So it's the same thing, but one of them enrages the world. In fact, both of them make them mad, but the second one really makes them mad. But this is my point. So I can decide how abrasive I want to be. You can say the same thing in different ways, and then you're asking me why am I abrasive to be deliberately polarizing? Because I feel like it gets my message across better.
Let me explain what he is talking about here. Andrew chooses his words very carefully and intently and decides to be abrasive on purpose.
For example, instead of saying something slightly triggering like, women aren't very good at parking, he says something like, females have no spatial awareness, which is much more triggering. He does this to attract an audience, and many of them would hate him, sure.
But remember, there is no light without dark, meaning there is no dark without light, meaning he will also have an audience of people who agree with what he is saying. And because he is so abrasive and assertive, his fans would be abrasive and assertive. Andrew believes what he is saying. For example, you would never hear Andrew saying he was wrong or taking back a statement that he said. This is reflected by his audience. They would believe what he says without saying he is wrong. Because Andrew doesn't believe he is wrong, Tate understood that being loved and being hated are the same energy. Now compare these two statements. It's okay to skip gym once in a while, but you shouldn't make it a habit. Compared to never skip a day, the difference between the two is that one sounds like the person does not believe what they are saying, and one bluntly gets their point across without trying to be nice to their audience.
Imagine if I acted like example 1. Imagine if before, when I gave you the deep questions, I said,
It would be great for you to do these questions, but you don't have to. See? You wouldn't do the questions, but instead I told my audience to do it or leave the video. This filters out the viewers that don't actually want to learn to the ones that do. So if you have made it this far into the video, know that you are one of the ones that do want to learn.
So as the final minute of this video plays out, ask yourself, was this video helpful to me? If the answer is no, then you're lying to yourself. This video was the most valuable piece of content you have consumed all day.
And you're just gonna exit the video without subscribing? Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you rob your future self of valuable content? So either subscribe now or never come back to this channel again.